All right. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the second exciting episode of The Legend of the Three Kingdoms. This is my second custom campaign. It's set in the same world as my other campaign, but in a completely different continent, possibly even a different time. We don't know yet. And the people below me are the people that decided that they wanted to play in my sandbox. So, just to kind of bring people up to speed, I am very much still under the weather, so this may be kind of a short episode. But yeah, health first. You know, I can't DM a game if I'm dead. So, bearing that in mind to kind of bring everyone back to speed because it's been about a month since we last played. This all started with a gentleman who goes by the name Commander, wandering around, finding a situation that he didn't feel was a good situation, and he intervened. And because of that intervention, he was offered a job for very little pay. Thank you for the host, Wild Bronco. A job for very little pay, but one that he could see other opportunities in, and it was the right thing to do. However, he realized that this was not a one-man job. This was a job that would require a team of people, people with specific abilities, people that he could work with, but would also be able to protect themselves. So he started to head towards the city of Dorme, which is on the border of Sanguinius and Fenrish. And along the way, he met up with a couple other people. He met up with Valaraven and I think Argenta were the two that he met up with specifically. And along the way there, unbeknownst to the three of them, they were being tracked by a woman who preferred the shadows and referred to herself as Briar. And then when you all were able to meet with the townsfolk and everything and kind of start talking, a man in a billowing black cloak that completely obscured his features appeared as well, along with a young woman with scars in various places and looking very battle-hardened. And while you guys were all kind of getting to know each other and learning kind of who you are and the titles that were attributed to you, the reason for you being there showed up. There is a noble from the nearby city of House Merovingian, I believe it was. If I'm saying anything incorrectly, correct me, players. Who came in and he claimed that he owned this land. He was going to kick them all off. And he basically created a little bit of a hostage situation to which the commander responded in kind and kind of scared him off. As he and his men left, Briar decided that she wanted to follow them and figure out where they were going and get a little bit more intel, while the rest of you guys stayed in the kind of tavern meeting place that you guys are in. So that's where we are going to pick it up for today. And we're actually going to start with Briar. So, Briar, as you head out from the very brightly lit room into the kind of stark darkness of the night, I'd like you to start by rolling me a stealth check.
Okay, hang on. Stealth 24.
24. Cool. You have no problem as you come out. It's almost in instinctual to you at this point that as you came to the door, you stopped, you peeked out just a little bit to kind of watch where they were going. You waited for them to get to a point where they wouldn't notice someone coming out of the door, and then you headed out into the night. And as soon as you were around shadows and darkness and things like that, you really had no issue following them. They didn't seem to be particularly worried about being followed. They weren't really setting up. They weren't looking for a tail or anything like that, which is something that you yourself do almost just out of force of habit. And you go on and follow them. You see that they're heading out of town, and it looks like they're going to be heading pretty far outside of town. Looking at the pace that they're taking, everything like that, you get the idea that it's probably going to be a couple of hours before they stop. So you can decide to keep following them, or you can head back to the rest of the people.
I'm gonna watch until I can't see them anymore. Like I'm gonna just kind of go off to the side and just watch them until I can't see them, and then go back.
Okay. So it takes them probably about what race are you again?
Human.
Human. Yeah, with it being I think you have dark vision up to like 120 feet, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't take very long for them to get out of your sight. Like if you had kept pace with them, you could have followed them for hours and hours. Like again,
Yeah.
they had no idea. But as soon as you stopped keeping pace with them, they were gone within about 5 to 10 minutes. Just because again, it was really really dark, and you could see dust and stuff from their horses and that. But beyond that, so after seeing them go away, do you go back into the tavern or?
Yeah.
Okay, so they ride off. You come back to the tavern itself. The rest of you guys, while that was happening, the rest of you guys watch as Briar heads out, and then the whole tavern itself is kind of quiet. The people that had just been taken hostage are kind of nursing the bruises and things that they probably got from the guards manhandling them. Some of them are treating like small cuts and things they got from knives being pressed against them and things like that. But no one's really talking right now. Like there's this very uneasy silence around the entire room. What do you guys want to do?
Um, I'll study the help Brian he will take care of
Okay,
whatever
go
is
ahead and roll me. Wow, I have to remember fifth edition D&D. I believe it's a medicine check. Yeah.
what
Sorry, I've been running a lot of Open Legend, and so
21.
yeah, you're able to kind of go around and again with the fact that blood and cuts and things like that, you have no problem helping out where you can. You help close up wounds. You give them tips and things like that on how to keep it from getting infected and that. And they seem everyone you talk to seems very very shaken by the incident. and they thank you. But again, there's very little talking going on. They communicate with you enough to, to get your help. But everyone, again, you just feel this overwhelming kind of presence of fear. The rest of you guys, do you guys want to do anything, or are you just kind of sitting and watching, engaging their reactions?
I'm just sitting at the bar watching the door, just in case they come back.
Okay.
Did I happen to see if anybody noticed what I had shown the noble?
Make a perception check.
19.
Okay. So when you brandished, you're gonna have to remind me the name again.
Fury.
Fury. When you brandished Fury, you're gonna have to remind me of this. Were you doing it in kind of a secretive way to kind of just show him, or were you more just? I think if I remember correctly, you kind of just brushed your coat back to show it on your hip.
No, I kind of pulled it to the coat to the side just to show.
Oh, okay.
Show it. I didn't want to show it to everything.
Okay, makes sense. So when you did that, not only were you focused on the reaction of this noble, but you also were kind of checking everyone out. His men saw it because they were eagle-eye focused on you. And you think maybe one or two of the hostages might have noticed it, but none of them had a recognition or anything of what it was that you'd shown. Again, with the fact that yours is kind of a heavily modified version of the standard, the general populace is not going to immediately recognize it unless you use it. Looks like he might have lost internet for a second, so we'll come back to him in a little while. Argenta, Valraven?
I'm going to go ahead and start playing A Song of Rest.
Okay.
Just try to help everybody. Maybe try to distract some people.
Okay. So you start playing and people start relaxing a little bit. Go ahead and make me a performance check.
Uh, 16.
16. All right, so you guys hear Valraven start playing and things like that, and with your gift with music and things like that, you're not only are you playing, but you're weaving a little bit of influence into the song itself, and trying to calm people down, to get them to relax, to remove a little bit of the fear, and you can see people start little conversations between each other. You can feel some of the fear subsiding a little bit. Argenta, anything you're doing?
I'm just going around getting the inn situated to what it looked like before they all rushed in.
Yep. So just putting up tables again and stuff like that. Makes sense. Henri, you're the first one to notice when Briar returns. She opens the door and enters almost silently, which is impressive to you, simply because, again, not a whole lot of people can do that. So after about 10 to 15 minutes where everyone else is kind of working around in that, Briar returns, and you see her first because you're watching the door waiting for the men to return. Anything you want to do about that?
No, I'm not going to do or say anything since it's not a threat.
All right. So, Briar, you come back in. You see Luann walking around, bandaging up people. You can see Vala playing a tune. Argenta's kind of tidying up the place again, just getting everything back to the way it used to be. And the commander seems to be lost in thought, almost as if he's disconnected from reality.
Okay, I'm just gonna find like the closest intact table and chair, and sit in the chair and prop my feet up on the table and just watch because I'm slightly confused of what's going on.
Okay. So as you sit down, the woman that kind of that recruited the commander, and I think, again, remind me, Vala and Argenta, you guys met the young woman as well, correct? Or was it just the commander?
I did on the way.
On the way, yeah, okay. So, does anyone remember the name? Because I don't have my notes with me, and my memory is shot.
It's literally the one name I didn't write down.
Okay, so she's the woman right now until we get the commander back, who probably has her name written down because he had the most interactions with her. But she turns around, she goes, See, they're afraid. It just took him standing up to them to get them to flee with their tails between their legs. We can do this. The rest of the tavern doesn't seem quite as moved by her words. You see a couple of them kind of sighing and giving that look of like, oh, great, she's talking again. So, seeing that, do you guys want to do anything?
I give a quiet little snort at their reaction because for once they're not saying it about me.
I asked do they do that? Anyway, will the break coming to wait in a business and
Well, and the woman comes over to you. Well, he's only just recently made his claim for this land, and he originally gave us to next week to clear out and allow him to destroy our homes, reclaim his land, as he claims. This is the first time he's been back for a month. Was the last time he showed up. So, I don't know. Maybe he realized that I'd gone and found someone, or maybe he just showed up here by pure happenstance. I bet you I just lost everything. Roll 20. Come on. There we go. Can you guys hear me?
Yep.
yeah,
Cool.
I can see and hear everyone but Vala.
yeah, I can't hear about it either.
Vala, you may want to hit the reconnect button real quick.
I'm just throwing it out there. It should really be renamed to Roll 1.
Yeah. All right. So, as she says that, we may have a commander back.
Yeah.
Commander, as soon as you can hear us or say something.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yep.
All right. It's a little robot. I'm having a hotspot, so hopefully this works.
Okay. As far as, did you hear the end of my explanation to your question about Hussar Fury?
You said that the guards reacted as well. That's the last thing I heard.
Yeah, the guards reacted to it. You saw a couple of the hostages that they had taken. You think they probably saw it. It doesn't look like they recognized it, though, because, again, yours is a heavily modified version of it. So the general populace is not going to recognize what it is until you use it. And then it's pretty hard to not figure out what it is.
Okay.
So the woman that brought you guys together, that none of us can remember her name, has just said that this is the first time they've seen the noble in probably close to a month, since she left and came back. And Briar's returned now after kind of watching them ride off to the south. Yeah, so what do you guys want to do? She just tried to rally people, saying, look, these guys scared him away. We can fight this. And the whole group kind of reacted like, really? She's going off on this again? So.
Argent is going to walk up to the bar and sit in the same seat she sat in before when she had her conversation with Henri.
Mm-hmm.
And in Elvish again, I say to him, so, outcasts, what do you make of this?
I respond in Elvish with, well, I don't like the looks of what this so-called noble is trying to do, and I'm with her in this case.
Would you be willing to help us then?
I mean, I obviously can't do it alone.
You're not going to join our table, though, are you?
Oh, no.
Am I close enough to hear that?
Make me a perception check.
We're also talking in Elvish.
Yeah, so.
Perception. Crap. 24.
Okay. So you would have heard they're having a conversation. I don't think, because they were speaking in a different language, I don't think either of them was being very secretive about it. However, do you speak Elvish?
I do.
Okay.
Before I go back to I go up to the bar to order another drink, and I say in Elvish, it's kind of rude to turn down if someone gives you a drink, and I walk away after that.
I don't even say anything. I'm used to it.
Okay. So another guy speaks up, and he chimes in with, "Listen, doesn't matter that you've gone and found all these morons that think that they can fight this. Do you see the amount of men that he brought with him just to show us a bit of force? This is a noble. He has armies at his disposal. He has money to pay mercenaries. He claims and has shown us proof that the vampires will back him. Exactly, I mean, you have 6 people here. What exactly are they going to do against 40 men, 50 men, 80 men? And there's kind of a heavy silence as we're going to call her Lisa, because I can't come up with a cool fantasy name. Lisa stands there kind of taken aback by what he said, because she spent so much time and effort and work into bringing these people here, and just this big rebuttal from people that had given her money, 3 weeks beforehand to go and find people to protect them. She seems very much kind of dumbfounded and is trying to come up with something to say to kind of deflect what the very valid point that he's brought up. So what do the rest of you guys want to do?
Argenta just kind of turns around in her seat and leans on the bar, and she's just like, well, a start is if we could build trenches and some simple wooden walls, help defend the town, you wouldn't need as many people. Mercenaries? I've been with a mercenary group. Best men. Ones around here don't mean much. Kind of chews on her lip.
Roll me a history check, Argenta.
History. 12.
Okay. Again, with your background having been in a mercenary group and probably having worked in this area before, you know that when you were here, or the general area around House Merovingian, your group was probably the most well-known mercenary group, and you guys are not a big mercenary group. So the other mercenaries that this guy might be able to find are probably not going to be have incredibly high caliber, and they're probably going to be individual mercenaries, not a mercenary group that's used to working with each other, that knows their strengths and weaknesses. And so you know from experience that getting a bunch of people together can sometimes, a bunch of very skilled fighters together can sometimes be a hindrance more than a help if they're not used to working with other people. And a lot of times when nobles and things like that hire just kind of cattle call mercenary groups, they end up being more trouble than they're worth. It's why it doesn't happen very often, and generally only happens when you need a show of force, not like a militia. So
I just start kind of muttering bits and pieces of that. I'm just like, probably individuals. They're not used to group tactics. We could do them better if we plan this out, right? And I kind of glance at the commander.
Whatever we do, I need that noble alive.
I'd like him alive too.
And I said, so he said it out of verifying by him. Yeah, maybe it does, but when we're around you saw one of them African and do something. Normally they're too busy up in their holidays. And, if he's so weakness, that body could easily go away.
and as soon as you say that, Lisa goes, "That's right. He has papers. He has false papers that don't mean anything. We know this land is ours. We've been here for generations. We know that those papers are fake. If the vampires were to get involved, who's to say that they wouldn't side with us? We have more right to this land than he does. He simply has papers. We have our blood, sweat, and tears in the land that we till."
And papers burn.
So she turns back to the commander. Commander, we're not much. And you've seen what we can afford, but... And as she does that, she kind of turns back. But we have the commander. He turned a town of farmers into an army that fought off monsters. That continues to protect their land to this day. And look at these other people we have here. These are not random travelers. These are legends. We can do this. But we're going to need everyone to pitch in. And that's when you start hearing kind of the murmuring and the arguing amongst people and things like that. So as that happens, what do you guys want to do?
How big is this town? I forgot.
The area that you guys are in, it's a farming community. So the majority of the people live on farms that are within probably about 5 to 10 miles of the town itself. Like everybody, it's a bunch of farms that all come here for trading. They all come here for protection and things like that. But the city center that you guys are in is basically 2 really big buildings, the kind of tavern that you're in right now, and then kind of kitty corner across the only intersection in the town is another building that looks to be like a town hall maybe, or maybe a temple, like a non-denominational temple where people can go and worship whichever deity they choose. And then there's a bunch of storefronts and things like that around as well. A blacksmith, a general store, things like that. The whole area is probably no more than about 2 or 3 blocks in all 4 directions, with maybe a dozen buildings. So it's not a very big place. And again, it's got this big, 4-way intersection at the center.
Are any of the big buildings around that 4-way intersection?
Yeah, the tavern and the town hall are on opposite corners of that 4-way intersection.
So not much for okay.
I'm going to approach the young woman that's been speaking up the entire time, and in a hushed voice so that other people have trouble hearing, I'm just like, I just want to confirm something. I heard it on the way here. It involves why I'm here. The noble in question, he has access to gunpowder, or at least did, correct?
Well, originally we were going to fight, and we had our men, and they were ready, and then there was a wagon that no one really thought much of. Traders come through town all the time. And so our warriors were planning and getting ready to fight, and they were prepared to meet his men, and then we don't really know what happened. There was an explosion. Something in the wagon erupted, and it killed them all.
I know that tactic firsthand. And so I go over to the commander, and I'm just like, they might have gunpowder. Just wanted to let you know.
I had a feeling.
Now, explosives in general are not not limited to gunpowder specifically. And again, guns in general are a Valachian
Yeah.
thing. Like they're very, very protective of the secret of gunpowder, of firearms, everything. So, and you know of quite a few other explosive compounds. Even just alchemist's fire, if you put enough of it together and then were able to ignite it, would give a similar explosion. So,
But they're farming folk. They have pitchforks, sickles, equipment that could be turned into weapons. I'd rather they not fight, but it might not be something we can avoid.
listen, we're willing to fight. And there's a little bit of a rumble after she says this, a little bit of muttering, and she turns and kind of looks at them with that kind of mom look and goes, "We're willing to fight. We don't have much training. Those of us that did well, they're all gone now, so we would need your help. We're
Training's
fast learners. We're strong. We're farmers. We work the earth. We just need some pointers, is all."
Training isn't the hard part. It's the unknown of what they have is the hard part. We have the best training for everything, but they come with something we weren't expecting. It throws a wrench into everything.
Well, and you hear a sound from one of the other tables that hasn't really been that active. "Well, I might be able to help with that." And you see this kind of larger human kind of step out. He's got, he's wearing leathers and furs, and he's got a really massive longbow, really thick, strapped across his back. He goes, My name is Colin. I'm a hunter. I provide much of the meat that's not raised, and furs for trading. I've seen their staging area. If you want to get an idea of what they're planning, I could take you there. Now, you need to be careful, because their staging area, there's not a lot of cover near it. But if you're secretive enough, you might be able to get a little bit of an upper hand in knowing what you're going to be up against.
That's invaluable.
How do you know what it is?
I came across it during one of my hunting trips. I was smart enough not to approach, and I saw that noble conversing with a few of the men there.
I also want to insight check in, make sure he's not lying.
Yeah,
Go for it. Go for it.
I won't die.
Okay. So you
22.
So Lillian is, as you kind of look him over, he's hard to read, to be honest. You're not 100% sure. However, Commander, you read people. Like that is one of your gifts. It's one of the reasons you're so good at commanding people, is you can kind of get a feel for them very, very quickly. You get the feeling he might be holding maybe a little bit of information back, but nothing that he said seems to be untrue. There may be more to the story, but everything he said seems to be true.
I go over to the bar and I order 2 drinks, 2 whiskeys.
Okay.
Pay for them, and I give one to him, and I say, this information would be invaluable. However, something tells me there's more to what you're telling me that you're not giving.
Make me a persuasion check.
Ooh. Persuasion. Crap. 22 again.
Damn. So
Or
he
18.
kind of looks at you, and you see this kind of flash of guilt in his eyes for a second. And he sits there. He downs the drink, and he says, "Maybe we should take this conversation outside."
I down mine. I say, very well. I take the glasses and put them back in the bar and walk outside.
Okay. He
Is
follows
this
after you.
something I just mentioned as we're going? Is this something we all should be involved in?
It's up to you guys. What do you want to do?
I'm following.
I was gonna say, when he was walking up to purchase drinks, thinking he was buying another one for me, I just walk out.
Okay.
It's not all about you.
I'll follow them out.
Oh,
I
my.
follow too.
Okay. So,
Val?
Val, are you gonna stay in the inn? You're muted right
You're
now.
muted.
I'm gonna stay and keep playing music.
Okay. All right. So everybody, basically everybody except Vala. Henri, you exit first, seeing as you were kind of prompted by the commander coming over. So you exit first. When you get outside, what do you want to do? You can tell that other people are going to be exiting behind you, like you can hear the movement. So you know you're probably only going to have maybe a minute before other people are outside as well.
Are there any benches outside?
Sure. On the other side of the intersection, there is outside the kind of town hall.
How far away is that from?
Maybe
From what?
30 feet.
Okay,
It's
yeah, I'll
not.
just
It's
go
not
there.
like a massive intersection. You know, just
I'll just-
think of a 4-way stop.
Okay, I'll just go and sit on the bench.
Okay. So the rest of you guys come out, and Colin is the first one out, and he comes out, and then when he turns around, he sees that it's not just the commander, but it's the commander and Lillian and Argenta and Briar. And so at first he becomes a little bit defensive, and you see him start kind of reaching down towards his belt. He's like, "What is this?"
It's okay. These people are here to help. We all need to know as much as we can do to take care of this place.
And Commander, you recognize this immediately. The rest of you might, Argenta, you might recognize it as well. He's looking, he's looking for exits. He's looking for, wherever it's going to be that will get him away from danger. And he seems to tense up a little bit more and backs up just a little bit more to kind of create a little bit more space. He's like,
I
If I-
turn to the group and ask them, just wait here. And I move closer to him and making space between me and the group.
"If I tell you this, it ends here. No one else ever finds out."
Exactly.
I start reading lips from afar.
Well, you can hear him. Like, I mean, you're out. You guys are like just outside the door. Like he didn't run away or anything like that. He's just, he goes, I may not have been completely upfront with you about how I know the location. I'm well known in these parts, and, well, game has been scarce recently. So I've been looking for alternate ways to make ends meet. And let's just say I might have been offered a position helping this group out. When I saw what they were doing, when I realized what it was they intended to do, and when they murdered those people, I knew I couldn't be a part of it. But I did take their money.
What did they ask you to do?
Originally, it was just supposed to be a show of force. We show up, we scare some local backwater people out of land that they shouldn't be on, and we get paid 10 gold. Now, you can't turn down that kind of money. So that's what it was. I showed up. I looked intimidating. I loosed an arrow or two from my bow at no one in particular, just to spook them a little bit. And, well, then out of nowhere, a flaming bolt hits a wagon, and a bunch of people die.
Did you hear anything before the flaming bolt hit, or was it just come out of nowhere and silent?
It just happened. It looked like a crossbow bolt, but half the men there had crossbows.
Okay.
Learning how to use, and he takes his bow off almost instinctively off his back, and kind of starts just showing it off and testing the draw strength and everything. Learning how to use one of these takes practice, years of work to be as good as I am, to be even passable. Crossbow, you aim down the sights and you let loose the bolt. Some of the times you're just as likely to hit the dirt as you are your enemy, but it certainly doesn't take the skill and experience required that a true bow takes. So it's not surprising to see most of these mercenaries carrying around crossbows, worn and underused weapons. Hell, half of them didn't even know which end of the sword went into the bad guys.
I've seen that before. So, do you remember anything about their plan?
I left before. The plan was we show up and we scare these people away. There was nothing in the plan about murdering a bunch of people. So as soon as that happened, I left.
How many of them were there?
There was about 24 men that died that day. Most from the explosion. The few that survived it. Well, let's say those crossbows got use.
Do you remember seeing the amount of people at their camp, their forwarding post?
When I was there, we had maybe 30 men, plus the personal guard of the noble.
And how many in that?
Half a dozen, maybe, if I can remember correctly. But his ranks have grown. Most of the men that came to the tavern tonight I didn't recognize him. Not a one of them. They were all new, and they knew which end of the sword goes in the bad guy.
Yeah. Okay, I got that feeling tonight.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he went and found more skilled labor, and probably still has a rather large majority of that unskilled labor.
How far away is this forward post?
Well, it's a good day and a half, 2 days ride from where we are. It's near a creek, so they have easy access to water, and is in a fairly heavily wooded area, so that they have plenty of cover.
Is it south, east, west?
It's to the southeast,
Okay.
in the direction of House Merovingian.
All right. Okay. Would you mind if this group came any closer so we could go over the information with them so we have more brains in this idea?
Oh, again, he was not far enough away, and he's not been talking that quietly. Everybody that's outside the tavern heard him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I thought that we were farther away. Okay.
No, he started backing away a little bit so that if you guys tried to kill him, you guess he probably would have loosed an arrow or two to distract you guys and then bolted for darkness.
Yeah. Okay.
Because that's what you would have done, except you wouldn't have used a bow.
I give him 10 gold. I say I appreciate the information. If there's anything else you can think of before you go, please do not hesitate to tell me.
I'm not leaving. I saw what this man can do. If the town found out that I was part of that group that got that man killed, they'll probably try and kill me, but I've got blood on my hands.
Your
And I need to
secret's
pay
safe
for
with
it.
me. I turn to the rest of the group and I ask, what do you guys think?
Well, he's trained, he's in the town, he can be an asset, and I want to see this encampment.
So do I.
Yeah, me too.
Henri, you see them from across the intersection, but you're far enough away that you can't 100% hear what they're saying, unless you possess, the ability to read lips, or if you want, you can make a perception check and just see how good your hearing is.
All right, I'll just do a perception check because I cannot read lips.
Okay.
I am so distracted with the nat one.
Yeah, you're over there. You're focusing a lot more on ensuring that your hood continues to conceal your face, that you see them talk. You can read a little bit of body language. You see a little bit of shame from the hunter for a second. You see the commander step forward a little bit. They have a conversation, and then he turns back towards the rest of the group. And they're conversing, but again, you're far enough away that you can hear there's a conversation happening. They're not trying to be secretive about it. You can't really pick up any of the words, though.
Yeah, I was just gonna hang out until they start walking in a direction, then just follow behind them.
Okay. So the rest of you guys, what do you want to do? It is very late at this point. You're probably pushing like 11 o'clock midnight.
I just kind of like mutter Wish there's enough time to message my brother about this. Ah,
You know, even if you could find a runner, you'd be looking at a couple weeks before
yeah.
you get in contact with them. Unfortunately.
Well, before we do anything, we should get Vala. She's still inside. I'll go in and I'll get Vala.
Okay. So Ardenta, you come in. Vala, make me another performance check.
Performance 12.
Okay. So you've been playing a little bit, and people, since they had calmed down, you had a captive audience, and you weren't going to give up an opportunity. So you started, playing a few more tunes that you knew. Like the tune that you were playing before helps calm people down. Calm people don't give you money. Calm people relax. Calm people, tend to kind of almost forget that you're there. So you started slowly changing up the tunage and stuff like that to stuff that was more lucrative. And they're as poor as they could, but you did get about 7 copper pieces from people just kind of acknowledging that they enjoyed your performances.
Nice.
As you're doing that, you see Argenta come back in.
Vala,
And she makes a beeline for you.
yeah. I'm just like, Vala, we gotta lead. We have some stuff to do.
Oh, excellent. I'll,
Yes.
I kind of nod and then finish my song and
Okay.
follow Argenta out.
All right. So now you guys are all outside the city, or outside the tavern. Commander, you see Argenta and Vala come out.
I fill in Bella Raven about what happened, or what the information was.
Is
And-
the hunter still there, or is he gone?
Yeah, he's the only person that's able to take you guys. Like, he knows where the camp is. So without him, y'all are, the rough direction it's in.
So
I
we have a
just kinda-
choice.
Stare at him a little.
We can either go tonight and risk,
I would
sleeping outdoors.
I would recommend against that. There are, being this close to Fenrish. Yeah, the magical barrier keeps most of the more dangerous creatures limited to Fenrish, but every so often, bad things will make it through, and they tend to be most active at night.
Right. We've also been traveling all day, and I could really use a good bed.
Well, I have some pull with this tavern owner. I can probably get you lodging for the night, since you've agreed to keep this conversation between us.
Yeah, no one here will speak of what you said tonight. So
All right, I'll make the arrangements. How many rooms are you needing?
I'm
so
fine
everyone
with
has to have their
sharing.
own separate room.
I'm fine with sharing a room with anybody if you want to. I'm used to it.
I don't mind sharing either.
I can't even hear you talking about this, so I don't have a say.
Yeah.
So what do you think? What, 3 rooms?
Okay.
That sounds good.
And as he goes back in, he turns and he actually looks directly at you, Henri, and says, loud enough for you to very definitely hear, "Will your more secretive friend be joining you, or will he be leaving?"
I'll just get up and start walking towards him.
And he kind of
I think
nods
that's-
at you, heads back into the tavern.
I
So you guys
I look
see
at
Henri walking towards you.
I look at Henri and I'm just like, I know your name, but what's your name?
Wait, hold on, this is out of character. I'm confused. Does he know the name Outcast, but not Henri?
Yes,
Okay, or she. I'll just say Henri. Not like it's a secret.
Henri. All right.
As Henri walks up, I make it a point to take a giant step away.
Okay.
Just try to stifle my laughter. So used to that.
So do you guys head back into the tavern?
Yep.
Yeah, I do.
Okay. So you guys come in. Colin gives you keys to 3 rooms. Who's bunking with who?
I'll bunk with Argenta if you're cool with
Okay.
it.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
All right. Vala, Liliane.
I
Henri,
look at
Commander.
Lillian and say, "Well, it looks like it's you and me."
It's fine.
Okay.
I grab the third key and I just go to the room. I don't even say anything.
Okay. Do you follow along, Henri?
Yeah,
Okay.
I find the situation amusing.
So, do any of you guys have any other prep work you want to do before going to sleep?
I don't go to sleep.
Okay.
I will light a candle.
Okay.
I meditate in the dark.
While she's meditating, I'm polishing my silver dagger, even though it hasn't been used in a while.
Okay.
It's just a ritual I have with it.
I am ready.
Okay.
I just lay down and go to sleep.
All right. You do find it slightly unsettling that Henri. I'm assuming you sit down on a chair or something,
Yeah, I'm just reading from my prayer book all night.
but it doesn't look like he sleeps at all. And when you wake up in the morning, he's in the same place he was before. And he looks up, and again, you can see there is a face beneath the hood, but the hood is constructed in such a way that the shadows cover everything but the most basic of details. You can see that, he has a mouth, and if you were to look really, really hard, you can tell when it's moving, but you can't really see words or anything forming from it. But when you wake up, he's in the same place he was before.
Well, I guess you didn't sleep.
I don't.
Oh.
Just kind of think back and be like, it's been about a year since I last slept. I think that's about right.
Roughly,
Would
year and a half, somewhere around there.
would I know anything about anything? That's the reason why.
Again, you've heard stories of the outcast. He's the boogeyman. You've
Yeah.
heard story upon story. He lures fair maidens into the wild and then drains them of their youth and life force. He captures children and eats them alive. He, appears from the shadow and, steals people's souls so that they can never make it to the afterlife.
Well, that one's true.
But maybe more along the lines of why he didn't sleep.
Elves in general don't have to sleep as much. They generally have to enter a meditative state, though.
Yeah.
He doesn't, from what you can tell. And you've never heard of someone that simply doesn't sleep, other than the undead. Like the undead and stuff like that don't sleep, but they're undead.
Yeah. Is everything in my stuff still on me?
Yeah, well, you would have taken off, like sleeping in armor is never a good idea. So you would have taken
yeah.
off enough. But
Right.
I'm assuming Henri didn't try to take anything of yours.
No.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll just put my stuff on and exit and go down to the bar area.
I will have Henri. I'll have you roll me or what's your passive perception?
14.
14. And what would your passive stealth or sleight of hand be, Commander?
What would I use for that?
Just 10 plus your modifier is passive anything.
Stealth or sleight of hand? Which one would you prefer?
Whichever one's higher.
Well, they're both the same, so it's a 14.
14. Okay. So as he was getting ready, Henri, you would have recognized one of the things that he strapped to his hip as looking very, very similar to Valachian firearm, but heavily modified.
I don't mention anything.
Okay.
I just keep to myself
All right.
and walk out.
So you guys come downstairs. You see a table with food waiting for you guys as you come downstairs. It's kind of basic, some bread, some water, a little bit of protein, some salted meats and stuff like that, but nothing extravagant.
All right.
I just
I jump all over that food.
so I don't have to lower my hood. I just kind of pick it up and put it in a sack to eat later.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
nod appreciatively to the, I'm guessing barmaid,
Mm-hmm.
and start eating.
So after,
Yeah.
I have
Go
my
ahead.
diplomat face back on.
Okay. So as you after you guys finish eating, Colin comes in because it seems that he didn't stay here or he left early in the morning and came back. And he goes, "Well, if you're all ready, I think it's time we left."
I believe so.
All right. So it takes the better part of a day to make your way there, and he is focused on making sure you guys are going the right place. So he's not actually looking for other things. So I would like. Probably Briar is going to be the one that would do this the most. I would like you to make me a perception check.
Okay. Perception is a 20.
20. Okay. All right. So as you guys are wandering around, or not wandering around, as you guys are traveling, Briar, you're constantly looking around and checking for things, and there's a couple times where you guys start going to an area where you see signs of more aggressive fauna being around there, and you kind of speak up and go, maybe we want to alter the path that we're taking, and you guys are able to avoid any dangerous interactions on your way there. When you guys eventually, Colin sits there and he holds up a fist and then gestures for you guys to get down. And he because he's been traveling about 30-ish feet ahead of you guys most of the time, and so he comes down. He comes back and he's like, "Okay, if you see those trees there," and he points to some trees that are about 1,000 feet away. Just on the other side of those trees is a clearing. At the far end of the clearing is where the camp starts. Now, the clearing is rather large, and they watch the edges pretty intently. So, I would recommend any of you that are not particularly apt at moving silently stay back here, or we may have to deal with their number immediately.
Mm.
So who's going to go with him?
I'll go.
Okay.
Also,
So Briar,
I'm hanging
Liliane,
I'll go.
Commander.
I'll stay behind.
I'll
Well,
go.
All right. Argenta, Henri, are you going?
No, I'm staying behind.
Okay. So Vala and Henri just kind of sit back. I need stealth checks from all the people that are going.
21.
I should probably roll for my guy, too. So it could be him that screws this all up.
I mean, you are rolling.
I rolled a 4.
Oh no.
You guys just better hope he has a really good stealth mod. So Argenta, what was it?
21.
All right, Commander.
I rolled a natural 20, so that's a 20. Stealth. Yeah, 24
Okay.
total.
Briar.
I also rolled a natural 20, so that's a 30.
Oh, brag about it.
I will thank you.
Liliane.
21.
All right, so you guys start moving forward. Briar, just from your own personal experience, you're not particularly fond of traveling on the ground because that's where people look. So very quickly, you guys watch as Briar moves into the treetops and starts moving across because you're in a very heavily wooded area. So going from tree to tree is actually not that difficult. And Briar is not a particularly large creature in general. She seems to be relatively lightweight. So she goes and she just disappears into the branches above you. The rest of you guys start pushing forward. And Commander, you watch as Colin is moving forward. You actually put a hand on his chest and stop him right as he's about to step on a branch that is actually connected to a trap that's specifically designed to just make a lot of noise. So you see that before he does, and you're able to kind of direct him around. And you guys are able to make it pretty close to the tree line. You don't get right to the edge of the tree line because then you'd be very easy to see. And you kind of circle around to get as close as you can, and you see a relatively big camp. You see dozens of little tents and mats and things laid out for people to sleep on. You see probably about a dozen different cooking fires and things like that. You see a very large main tent towards the back that's probably big enough to fit easily. You could put 50 men in there without having too much difficulty whatsoever. And looking around, you see easily 50 to 100 men.
I'm sorry, how many?
Somewhere between 50 to 100 men.
Oh, okay. Are they all asleep right now, or does it look like they're starting to rouse to leave or anything like that?
Well, you guys left in the morning, so since it took you most of the day, you're getting there around like dinner time. So the cooking fires are being used. You can see that they've got small game. A few, you can see like one or two like deer, larger game. being slaughtered and cooked and things like that. But none of them are going to sleep or anything. They're getting ready for dinner.
Okay.
You do notice none of the men that you see out and about, at the cooking fires and stuff like that, are going into the big main tent. The main tent itself, you can see there are two guards, very, very obviously guards. They are dressed in plate mail. They both have glaives and shields. And it is obvious they are guarding the entrance to that tent. So whatever is going on in there, more likely than not, that's where the important people are.
I just want to burn that tent down. You guys got any ideas?
I like the burning idea.
As you guys say that, Colin goes, they're treated, right? Like, I mean, they're not impossible to burn, but we'd have to hit it with a lot of fire. And then we'd have, there's more men here than I remember. And we'd have 100 people that we'd have to deal with. I mean, I'm good. I'm not that good.
I kind of had a feeling it would be treated. It's just the problem. It's just, if do I see anything that may look like what's the word? Stockpiles of maybe like gunpowder barrels or anything like that. Just rule out the fact that they may have it.
Make me a perception check. If you guys all get killed off here, I put a lot of work into building this campaign.
15.
So glancing around, you know what gunpowder looks like when it's stored. You know how to properly store it and how to improperly store it. You don't see anything that would indicate gunpowder storage or anything like that. However, there are a few tents out there that you can't see into, and then there's the big tent. And It's theoretically possible there could be something in there. But looking around, you see crossbows, you see javelins, you see swords and shields and maces and stuff like that. You do not see a single firearm among any of them.
All right. So I think
Well, you've got probably close to, from where you guys are, because you kind of circled around a little bit, you would have about 50 feet of pure, of completely no cover between you and the encampment. It's getting later. The sun is starting to set, so it's getting a little bit darker. But even in darkness, the different cooking fires and stuff like that, if they set any sort of a watch, even Briar, with her really, really impressive stealth abilities, is not going to be able to make it up to the camp undetected. They specifically chose this location because you can't really get to it undetected. Unless you have some way to take out sentries silently from afar.
So Argenta kind of backs up a bit, and are there any birds around or anything?
In the direct area that you're in, there aren't, which is a little bit off-putting.
Right. Can't find anything. I'm just gonna be like, shit, and then sit there and wait to see what everybody does.
It's this clearing that's throwing into a wrench.
Yeah.
And does the clearing looks like it just stretches the entire length of the wooded area that meets up to them?
Yeah, basically you have the clearing is basically all around the encampment, and the encampment is basically right at the edge of this kind of creek river-ish thing. Like it's not like a full-blown river, but it's more than a creek. So,
Okay.
and then on the other side of the creek there is no clearing. There's woods and stuff there, but the creek itself is probably a good 20, 30 feet wide.
It's a big creek.
It's not incredibly deep.
Okay.
It's so that's why it's not like a full blown like river.
Gotcha.
You could probably without too much difficulty walk, and you wouldn't. You guess again. You can't tell from where you are, but you guess you could probably walk, and the water would probably never get higher than like your chin, maybe your nose.
I
That's-
Colin, you said that it grew larger than you remember.
Yes. Again, when I was a part of it, there was maybe 36 of us.
When you were part of it, do you remember when they came around from maybe said it grew bigger than what we come in?
Well-
somewhere.
Again, I joined the group because they were offering good money for anyone that knew how to hold a weapon or could look imposing. And that definition fits a fair amount of people that live around here. So these people could be from other villages in the hopes that their village won't be taken over by this noble. They could be from House Merovingian itself. I mean, it's a thriving city. There are thousands of people that live there.
Do you remember what a man when you was that?
The encampment has grown since I was here last, but that main tent has been there since the beginning. That's where the noble meets with the head of the group. When I was here last, it was a half-orc named Goron. He was the one that had the money to pay everyone. He was the one that barked orders at us, and he was the one that you didn't mess with. He was very much a dangerous person. He had a great axe that he used to enjoy training with. And there were a few of the newer recruits that didn't quite show him the respect that he thought he deserved. That got an impromptu training session that ended with them not needing training anymore. Or food. Or their weapons, if you catch my drift.
Or the air they breathe.
Yes.
Yeah.
The
To the
two
group.
guards on the outside are new, though. They generally that meant that they look like his personal guards. So it may be that the noble is there, or that he has simply lent them the use of his personal guard.
So I to the group. So we probably didn't get away with holding a new group.
Everyone that was... Your faces are going to be well known. Well, other than that one. And he points at Henri.
I'm not there.
Oh, he points back towards you.
Oh, okay.
He's like, other than that one, your faces are going to be well known. You insulted the noble to his face and lived to tell about it. None of you would be able to get in there, and I left on fairly bad terms. If I were to show up again, at the very least, they would be suspicious. If not, just kill me where I stood. Again, Goron is not particularly fond of disrespect.
Colin, do you remember anything else about the land around here? Like, does this clearing just encircle the entire camp, or can we go around and become closer to the main tent? Does it get any closer?
Well, we're... if we were to cross the river here, that would probably be the closest that we could get, since the main tent is basically about 10 feet away from the river's edge. And the river is only 20 or 30 feet wide, but then we'd have a river to cross.
Yeah. I'm not so much worried about the group. I'm more worried about maybe sending one or two for just information, scout information.
Well, if any of you are good swimmers, as it gets dark, they never really guard or watch the river. They assume anyone foolish enough to attempt to traverse the river will make enough noise that they'll be able to catch them in the act.
Can you show me? Can you show us around to that side, just so I can see it?
Certainly. We'll have to be. We'll have to still be very careful about our movements.
Of course.
Anyone that wants to follow him, stealth checks.
Okay. Let's use this D20 again. Okay.
Yeah. 16 for me.
Okay, Argenta.
24.
Okay, Lillian.
Not 24 total.
I need to get a crit roll stats, is what I need. Because that is like the fourth or fifth crit tonight. And I have rolled, I think 3 times. I have rolled 4s all 3 times.
Are you serious? That's awesome.
It's the
I've rolled
only
once.
number I've rolled.
I've rolled once and it's been a natural 1.
Well, no, I guess. Briar, are you going with him?
Yeah, I rolled a 27.
27.
Really?
So Briar's invisible. The rest of you guys, like, just get reeds and do the whole, like, and go underwater. You are able to make it kind of around. You get, like I said, now you're about 30 feet away, 40 feet away from the main tent. You're at the back of the tent, so there's no opening on this side. It's just, staked down and everything. But it's made of high quality cloth, but it's a cloth tent. It's canvas.
Would I be able to tell whether or not they did treat it to be?
Yeah, that's
fireproof?
kind of standard practice as you weather treat the tents to make them more resistant to the elements. And canvas in general is not an incredibly flammable cloth. It's not inflammable or anything like that. But by the time it would catch fire, they would either be able to put it out or get out of the tent. Like you're not going to be able to kill anyone by setting the tent on fire.
I wasn't trying to kill him. I was trying more to just burn their plans, anything like that.
Yeah, it's again, it's weather treated canvas. So
Yeah.
there's probably a little bit of wax of some sort that would technically be flammable. That's kind of worked into it as well to make it more like rain resistant in that. And then the canvas itself is. Again, canvas is just not incredibly flammable. So,
And are there any guards around the sides of the back?
no, there's nothing on this side.
Okay.
They seem to not really think that this is an issue. They kind of, from your background with again being a commander, they basically kind of treated this as if it was a wall. Generally you would put your back to a wall so that no one's going to come up behind you. And when you do have your back to a wall, you don't actually have to watch your back. And so they've made it's not a common mistake to make, but it is a mistake you have seen made by troops before, where they've seen like a water or something and they've just assumed that they'll be safe because, people can't just walk up to them from that direction.
Yeah. And we're not right against the tent. We're how far back did you say we were?
Well, you're on the other side of the river, so the river, depending on the part, like the part that you guys are at right now, is about 30 feet wide from water's edge to water's edge.
Mm-hmm.
And then the tent is about 10 feet beyond the water's edge. So from where you are, you're about 40 feet away from the tent.
Okay. Because I just want to make sure whispering to everyone around.
No one will hear you. There's a river in between you and the tent and everything. You can talk. Like if you start shouting, they'll hear you. But you can talk in a kind of a hushed tone and have no worries whatsoever of anyone hearing you that you don't want to.
All right. I turn to everyone's. You guys have
By
any
this
ideas?
time, night has fallen. It's like the end of twilight. Not the movie, as in the period of time. There are no sparkly vampires here. I didn't think of the Twilight Zone. You can take inspiration for that. I'm a big fan of puns, guys. So if you can get a pun that I haven't already thought up, congratulations. Well, theoretically, you either have or you don't have inspiration, so...
So what do you guys think we need? Is there anything we can... Because there's no way we can manage to do anything with attacking, because there's just no chance, but...
Yeah, you're relatively certain attacking would be a dumb idea. However, from where you guys are and the fact that you have found that they have made a tactical mistake, there's a chance that you guys can, under cover of darkness, you think there's a chance that you might be able to get closer, maybe poke around a little bit. But beyond that, it's up to you guys.
I'll leave that to our resident stealth expert to show whether or not she would prefer chancing that. Was that the cat or was that you?
It was me channeling my cat.
Okay.
I don't know if I want to risk that one. I mean, I will if y'all really want me to.
And we don't have any better of a chance than Connor right now in this scenario because we are.
As of
We're
right
gonna-
now, you have gotten all you've gotten all the information you possibly can from where you are. If you want more information, you have to get closer.
And we have a really great tactical position right now in order to obtain that information because we're the closest to this main tent that we can get.
You do know if they have a brain in their heads. As soon as you guys do this, even if you get away scot-free, if you leave any sort of, like if you take anything, if you cut a hole in the tent, anything that lets them know that this is how you guys got in, this avenue will be gone. They will set up guards and things like that to guard specifically against this. So you really only have one shot if you want.
I mean, I can try, but one and done, y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I say go for it. I'll leave it up to you, though, since this is essentially your choice, your life. But this is our best choice, chance if we take it.
If you don't want to go alone, I'm willing to go with you.
I understand more of the better, but at this point, the less noise, the less chances we have, the fewer mistakes. The simpler the machine, the easier it is to work.
All right.
So what are you guys going to do?
I guess I'll go in and.
All right. Make me a stealth check.
So much pressure.
I'll give you advantage because you guys are coming in from an awkward angle, and it's dead of night now.
Uh, 25.
Okay. So you guys watch as Briar starts shedding a few of her outer layers, some of the more protective things, so that she's in the least restricting amount of armor and clothing that she can be. You ditch your cloak, you ditch everything but the bare essentials, and then you watch her very slowly move up to the water's edge, kind of crouching, and she kind of crawls into the water and submerges herself and barely leaves a ripple in the water surface after she's underneath. And you guys wait, and a minute passes, 2 minutes, 2.5. You guys start worrying, and then one of you notices a small kind of, it almost seems like the water has a bump in it as Briar emerges from the other side, kind of crawling out on all fours. Again, barely leaving a ripple. But Briar, you're now completely soaking wet.
Of course.
You get up and you very quickly move to the edge of the tent itself. And you can hear voices from inside the tent. But the tent itself is muffling it, and you think that there's probably more than just the tent. You think there's probably other drapery and things like that hanging in the tent to create different rooms in that's muffling the sound. So you can't actually, from where you are right now, you can't actually hear, or you can't actually make out what's being said. You can just hear a conversation.
All right, I'm gonna get closer.
You are literally right against the edge of the tent.
I'm just gonna start like slyly walking around the edge then.
Okay.
On the inside, I'm screaming bloody murder, by the way.
So as you kind of go around, you get to a point where, in order to keep following the edge of the tent around, you are no longer going to kind of have cover from the tent. and you can see probably about 50 feet away, you can see a cooking fire, and about half a dozen people around it. Some of them are finishing the last remnants of a meal. Some of them are just kind of chilling and talking. There's a couple tents and bedrolls set up around it, and you can see probably a half dozen more people sleeping around there as well. So if you want to continue along this path, you're going to be out in the open, and there's going to be nothing to hide behind.
Okay, I'm going to scooch back to behind the tent where I got out of the water, and I'm going to cast invisibility on myself.
Okay.
And I'm going to inch back.
All right. So you get back to where you were before. They can't physically see you, but again, you are wet. So the ground here is a mixture of there are patches of grass, but there's also dirt. So if you step on any of the dirt, you're going to leave footprints, even being invisible.
Okay. I'm going to try to stick to the grass as much as possible.
Okay. And where are you going? You're trying to get into the tent?
I'm trying to get to where I can hear the voices better.
As
Not
you
necessarily
circled around the tent, the voices never got louder. So just based on basic kind of triangulation, you get the idea. The voices are probably at the center of the tent.
Shit muffins.
Now, again, tent is made of canvas.
Yeah.
You can cut canvas without massive amounts of difficulty. Or, again, you are currently invisible.
Yeah, visible with dripping water.
Well, you're not really dripping anymore. I mean, you would have been smart enough to kind of wring your hair out and shake off a little bit, so you're not dripping, because that would have been bad.
Yeah.
But you are still wet.
All right. So, cut or walk. I'm going to try to go in the tent door.
Okay. As you move around, you come face to face with the two guards. So if you want to go through, it looks like there's only one way in and out of this tent, and it's past these two guards.
And it's closed, I'm assuming.
It's tent flaps, so they're not secured or anything like that, but they're hanging closed-ish.
All right. Okay, it's too much of a risk. All right, I'm gonna go back to the back of the tent.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess I'll try to cut the canvas and.
Okay. Make me a sleight of hand check.
Oh, ball sacks. Okay. Nat 20.
All right. So you, what weapons do you have?
I have a dagger and a short sword and a crossbow.
Okay. So you take your dagger out, and you very, very carefully, you start at the bottom of the tent, and you start dragging it across the bottom where it's kind of staked into the ground. And you make a little opening there. And then you just start cutting up a little bit to widen the opening so that you can kind of crawl in. But to the naked eye, you wouldn't, you'd have to go and kind of lift the flap you've created to realize that you've created an entrance that didn't used to be there. And you do this all very, very carefully and quietly. And as you come in, you immediately see in front of you, you're in kind of a room created by hanging drapery and stuff like that, that has a bedroll in it. It has a footlocker type thing in it, but currently no one is in it. And you can see through the kind of drapery, it looks like three men. You can hear the voices of three men. You can see kind of three shapes are in the center of this tent, talking and arguing.
Can I hear them yet?
You can. And that is where we are going to end it for tonight. For those of you that have been watching, thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed it. This is actually the second episode of Legend of the Three Kingdoms, so you were starting with us right at the beginning. I do try to run D&D games here every Wednesday night, so feel free to tune back in, follow the channel. Otherwise, you can follow me on Twitter. I generally try to tweet before I go live. That's I'm at Trainer Jody there, and I do upload all these the videos of these to my YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Trainer Jody. I also make quite a bit of other content on there. Everything from in-depth guides on how to play different classes to stuff about mental health, a little bit of everything. So feel free to check that out. It's youtube.com/Trainer Jody. Otherwise, that is all from me today, and I will see you guys next time. All right? Bye-bye.